Hello everybody. So I put on Instagram if you all wanted to see how to make a drawstring backpack, and I got this Simply Sewn from Barnes & Noble. It was $13, so it's really cheap. And it also comes with this booklet that has 10 different things that you can learn how to sew, one of them being the drawstring bag. So for instance, you could make a cell phone case, which most of you know how to do because you did that in my classroom. You can make a zip up pouch. So it's all really cool and really straightforward, and it gives you a list of the different materials that you need. Okay, so you need printed cotton fabric, which this is the one that it came with in the box. So it's a 1/2 yard total, both pieces. You need an 1/8 inch drawstring cord, and it will be about 40 inches long. You need all-purpose thread, preferably one that matches your fabric so that your thread isn't showing. You need 3/4 inch wooden large hole bead. This is what you'll use to fasten your drawstring backpack. You're gonna need a pair of scissors, and you're going to need a ruler or measuring tape. I have measuring tape right here. Straight pins, safety pin is optional, an iron, which I don't have, so we're just gonna try our best. Okay, so, and you need your sewing machine or sewing needle. So I don't have a sewing machine, but it comes with a sewing needle. Okay, so all of the steps are laid out for you right here. So I am just going to attempt to follow the steps. Okay, so step 1 says to cut the fabric. Now, fortunately, when I measured it, it was the length and width that I needed already, so I don't have to do any cutting yet. Okay, so then step 2 is to make the casing. So the casing is what your rope will go into, and it's the part that will cinch at the top. Okay, so here it says to lay the fabric wrong side up. So this part of the fabric will be facing up towards me. All right, fold both sides of one piece of fabric in 3/8 of an inch, only at the top. So the short side is the top. Okay, so then after you fold it 3/8 of an inch at the top, like that, then you're going to fold the top of the fabric down 1/2 inch all the way across. So then it should look something like this right there. Okay, also please excuse the fact that my dogs are being rude and playing in the background. How rude of them. Okay, so after I have folded it down 1/2 inch, if you have an iron, it tells you to iron press the folds so that they're flat. But since I don't have one, we're just gonna go with it. Okay, then you're going to fold the top down again 1 inch. So it should look something like that right there. Okay, so after I folded it down again 1 inch, you're going to iron that to press it flat. Remember, pressing is an up and down motion, and an ironing is back and forth. So we're pressing it. All right, then you're going to use pins to secure the fabric, which I don't have pins either. Obviously was not very prepared for this, but it's fine, okay? All right. So, pause 1 moment. Okay, I got my dogs under control, so they're quiet now. So now what I'm going to do is we need to thread the needle, okay? So I'm going to undo my all-purpose thread, which I probably should have done before this, but it's fine, you know? We're learning together, just like in the classroom. All right, I have my needle. I need to find the end of my thread, which is somewhere. Now remember, in the classroom, we typically measure from your fingertip to the top and then double it. So that's what I'm going to do as soon as I find the end. Oh my God. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, I had to cut this nice little knot out of my thread because I could not get that untangled. So I'm going to measure that and then double it up, okay? Now, your arms are obviously much longer than mine, so you will have more thread, and that is completely fine. All right, another pause break. So I'm gonna put the thread through the eye of the needle, or try to. I will say though, I don't have my nails done anymore, and it's making sewing a lot easier. Let me just tell you. So once I have my thread doubled up, I'm gonna make a knot at the bottom of the thread. Okay, not with just one string, but both of them. And then I'm going to double or triple my knot so that I make sure it doesn't go through the fabric. Cool. So you can't see it, but you can see my knot, okay? So now I'm going to use a running stitch or a straight stitch, which is just the back and forth, in and out. Okay, and I'm going to sew along the bottom fold on each piece of fabric, okay? As close to the edge as possible to create a smooth, even channel for your drawstring. Make sure to back stitch at both ends. Okay, so back stitch means you're basically creating a knot on each end. All right, so here's my fabric. So I am going to get really close to this bottom part down here so that my drawstring can fit in there. All right. So just going to go in and out until I'm all the way across. Okay, so I'm just gonna keep doing this until I'm all the way across, all right? Okay, here's an update so far. Pretty good, I would say. I'm obviously no professional, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to run out of string before I get to the end. So if that happens to you, just make a knot and then we'll add more string on as we come to that point. Okay, so I'm nearing the end of my casing on the first piece of fabric. Now, is this the best sewing job you've ever seen? No. Is it the worst sewing job you've ever seen? Maybe. But we are doing our best, okay? So, luckily, I did not run out of thread yet, so that's good news. All right, so I've come to the end of my casing. So now I need to back stitch. So that means I'm going to go back through this last hole that I just did. And then up through the other one. And then I'm going to just make a little knot for my thread so that it doesn't come unraveled. Just like we did when we were making stockings or when you're making your stuffed animals. Just a knot. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to cut off the remaining piece of thread. And then I'm going to come over here and cut off this piece of thread over here. Well, actually first I'm going to make a knot just to be on the safe side. And then I'll cut it off. There we go. Okay. All right, so now your casing should look something like this. So I'm going to do this exact same thing with my other piece of fabric. Okay, so I'll be back in just a minute with that. All right, I've started on my second casing. Maybe this one will turn out better than the first one. Who's to know, right? I don't know how these professional YouTubers make all these videos, because let me tell you, it is hard. Okay, just using a basic running stitch, which most of you should know how to do at this point. All right, I am at the end of my second casing. Just did a back stitch, and now I'm going to make sure that my fabric is, not my fabric, my needle and thread has a knot in it so that it doesn't come out. All right, now I'm just going to cut that and then come over to this other side and cut it right above where my knot was so that it doesn't come out. Okay, so we are on step 4. Step 4, lay one fabric piece on top of the other piece with the right sides facing and the casings lined up at the top. So my right sides are facing each other, and my casings, which by the way look like this, are facing or lined up with each other, just like that, okay? And then you're going to pin the pieces together, starting right below the casing. So you're gonna start right here with your pins, and you're gonna pin pieces around the sides and the bottom. So all the way down here and all the way down here, okay? Now, does Miss Staton have pins? No, she doesn't. Shocker. Okay, so again, we're just gonna go with it. All right. Step 5, sew the sides and the bottom using a straight stitch or running stitch, starting and ending directly below the casings, using a 1/5 of an 1/8 inch seam allowance. Okay, so I'm going to start sewing right down here, and we're gonna start probably a little over, so not right on the seam, but just a little bit further. Okay, so when we flip it, this part will be inside. All right, so remember, we're gonna start right here, right below the casing, and just a little bit over. So we're having a seam allowance, okay? So I'm gonna start like right here, okay? We're just gonna, you know, try our best. Now, I have a lot of thread, so it might take me a minute, but we're gonna get there. Okay, small technical difficulty, but I fixed it. So we're just going to continue around the sides and the bottom just like this. Okay, so I will check back in once I am done. Okay, when I get to the corner over here, I'm not going all the way down to the corner. I'm keeping that seam allowance. And then when I'm done, I'm going to cut the corners off so that it won't be bulky inside. Okay, I'm nearing the end. So, you know, it's not the best stitch job in the world, but for this purpose, it's fine, I think, you know. Okay, do one last stitch and then make a knot so that my thread doesn't fall out. I'm just going to do it the easy way and tie a knot with these 2 pieces of thread. Okay. Gonna cut off any stray pieces that I have. All right, so I have it stitched all the way across. So now step 6 was to snip the 2 bottom corners, so these 2 corners down here, so that there's no bulk when you flip it. Okay, so I'm just going to snip right across these 2 corners. Okay. All right, step 7. Thread the 40 inches of cording through the casing, going in one side and out the other. Okay, it took me a while to figure it out, but I didn't have a safety pin to help thread this. So what I did was I found a bobby pin and I just put the cord through the bobby pin like that. And then I just scrunched up some of the fabric and then I would pull the other end, and it worked that way. So that is called using your resources. Took me way too long to figure that out, but we got it. Okay, so now that we have gotten this far, step 8 is once the drawstring is through both sides of the casing, you're going to thread both ends of the drawstring through the hole of the wooden bead. So this part right here. So I'm going to put both pieces or both ends of thread through the end of this. That one was a little unraveled, so we're just going to cut that off. Okay, so now that I have that, I'm going to use the 2 cords to make a single large knot above the bead. So this part right here. So I'm going to make a large knot. Which then should look something like that. So then I have my bead like this, and I'm just gonna cut off some of this extra this rope because it's unnecessary, I think. All right, so now we're just going to flip this inside out, or right side out, I guess. And we should have what looks like a drawstring bag, hopefully. All right, so let's see if it works. All right, here is the finished product. I think it turned out pretty good. What do you all think? All right, so that is the finished product, the drawstring bag. I think for the first time ever making a drawstring bag, it turned out pretty good. It was not without complications, and the inside sewing job definitely does not look professional. But on the outside, I think it looks pretty good. So this is something that you all could do at home if you wanted to. You just have to get some fabric, obviously when quarantine is done, so that we can be safe and go outside. So maybe not at this moment, but hopefully in the next, I don't know, 4 weeks or something, maybe you all could make a drawstring bag. All right, thank you for indulging me and watching this cringy video. I apologize that it was not super great, but here we are. So anyways, I miss you all so much. If you need help during distance learning, let me know. You can follow the Wheeler Facts Instagram or my Snapchat, Miss Staton, and I will be available whenever I can to help you all. All right, bye.